is Joy News Prime.
This is Joy News Prime here on Joy News on Multi TV. In this edition, we're just hours to the by-election in the Talensi constituency in the Upper East region. The leading parties are both upbeat about their chances. State attorneys declare strike over poor conditions of service with implications for justice delivery in the country. National Fire Service observes inadequate fire safety measures at filling stations visited in Accra today and directs them to bring them up to code. Passengers on domestic airlines complain about the introduction of 17.5% VAT on the cost of their tickets. Operators say will hurt their efforts to grow the sector. And local currency makes impressive gains against the US dollar. We have more business and then sports and international news coming up in the next 60 minutes. Do stay tuned. Now we just asked to go to the by-election in the Talensi constituency in the Upper East region. The two leading political parties, the governing National Democratic Congress and the opposition New Patriotic Party, are both claiming to have the upper hand in the contest. At the last rallies held by the two parties on Sunday, attended by all the bigwigs, they both sounded optimistic, suggesting it will be an indication of how the 2016 elections will go.
Contestants, to me, the only thing that will face a challenge to the two leading political parties with the emergence of the PNC, coming in front of the PNC. That will be something that will bring forward, but it's a strict contest between the MPP and the NDC.
Two mammoth rallies were held simultaneously by Ghana's leading political parties, the National Democratic Congress and the New Patriotic Party. The Talensi constituency parliamentary seat is at stake as the constituents go to the polls in the by-election on Tuesday to choose a new member of parliament. President John Dramani Mahama led the NDC in their rally to campaign for BT Baba, the NDC's candidate.
He distinguished himself and retired honorably. Aside from that, he was head of Ghana's Olympic Committee for so many years. And so the Olympic movement, the president of the Olympic movement internationally is well known. And so this is a person who is fit to represent you and bring all the respect to you.
NPP flag bearer Nana Adodankwe Kufuor also led a campaign for Thomas Dona Abuni, the NPP's candidate.
He's a good man. He's an honest man. He's a competent man. And he will be a good representative of Talensi. And to show what kind of a man he is, the people who contested him have all come here to give evidence about this man. I call this the Talensi model, where all the contestants are together, and it's a model we want to take to the 274 constituencies across the country.
The Talensi constituency will be voting to elect a new member of parliament after their MP was enskinned, the paramount chief of Tongo. There are 6 other candidates contesting in these by-elections, including candidates from the PNC and PPP, who have all intensified their campaigns in the last 2 days. It remains to be seen, however, who clinches the seat come Tuesday, July 7.
Now, the minority parties, as you heard, are also not giving up on their chances of taking the seat. They all held rallies in the constituency on Sunday to wrap up campaigning and to court voters, with the CPP and PNC presenting a common candidate in what they believe gives them a good shot at the seat. Programs coordinator at the Center for Democratic Development, CDD, however, does not share the optimism of the smaller parties. Paul Kojo Abrampa believes despite the 8 faces on the ballot paper, the Talensi by-election is a two-horse race between the NDC and the MPP.
The other 6 contestants, to me, the only thing that will face a challenge to the two leading political parties with the emergence of the PNC, coming in front of the PNC. That will be something that will bring forward, but it's a strict contest between the MPP and the NDC. And it also gives the bragging rights to whoever wins this very seat. As the bragging right has started, Nekufuado's speech, as you listened to yesterday, seeks to say that they want to take this seat, one, to honor the chief who has, the parliamentary candidate who has now been made a chief, and it's the first of his kind that said, because of the respect they have for their party and other people in the MPP, they have honored the amount to become a chief, and also to show the citizens the bad governance that is going on by the NDC. The NDC's, as Prof. Mills, Mahama also said yesterday at the rally, it is their seats, and the number of projects that they've put up in talents and across Ghana, and the governance that they are putting up to see the welfare of the people will give them the votes. So this will be the major test for them, and this will also prepare them ahead of 2016. So if the MPP wins, it re-emphasizes the preach of the bad governance Ghanaians are witnessing, as they purport to say. And if the NDC wins, it will also counter whatever the MPP has said. So it gives the bragging rights now. If you ask me to predict who is likely to win this election, unless something changes last minute, I take the two leading political parties, but because of the results of the presidential turnout in 2012, I'll give it to the NDC. It's been the NDC seat. Mosori is himself was an NDC before he crossed carpet, and because of that, they had an advantage. So it's up to us to see or realize from these elections whether the vote actually was an anger from the NDC faithfuls who did not like the candidate presented, or it was a punishment to the NDC as a party.
Well, he has also been spoke. Kojo Abrampa believes that despite the 8 phases, as you heard him say, the Talensi by-election is a two-horse race between the NDC and the MPP. Now, he also raised concerns about the Electoral Commission's failure to release the voters' register a week to the election, explaining that it leaves room for speculation.
Why hasn't the Electoral Commission brought the voters register to the political parties at PEG as enshrined in the Political Party Act and in the Constitution? It says it should be given to them a week before the elections. Why hasn't it done that? That's the problem.
This is a by-election, and the time given them probably might not be enough.
The Electoral Commission set the date. Nobody gave them the time. And secondly, we are not compiling a new voter rule. It is the voter rule that was used for 2012. It's the same voter rule that we're going to use. It's the only addition is the limited voter addition that we did, which of course has been compiled already. So, sometimes I talk of political institutions, I'll talk about national institutions because you give room for speculation. You realize and you read the media what kind of speculations that were coming up. Electoral Commission is in bed with the NDC. The NDC is transferring more vote to aid their winning. Why? Because the Electoral Commissions are giving that window for speculation. What prevents you from issuing the register as purported in the law, so that you win yourself from all these speculations? You might not be doing anything wrong, but why don't issue the voter rule for them? This happened in 2012, and the political parties complained. Why are you still doing same mistakes? We expect the Electoral Commission, after the long battle in Supreme Court for 8 months, which I term as 8 months silence in Ghana, to start modifying its ways of operation, to start reducing the windows they create for people to criticize them. And some of these by-elections or special elections are test cases for them to prove people wrong. So I wasn't expecting that register to delay for people to get room for speculation. It's not only the register. The law also enjoins the Electoral Commission to publish the name of observers, the temporary staff they've recruited for people to go. You know why it is important? It's important because then we can protest. Then we can know whether the people there are biased. Then we can tell the background of the people so that we have a clear, independent people manning our polling centers, so that it cripples the political parties to reading intents of biases after the results have been issued. The Electoral Commission should start learning after the long silence they put Ghanaians through after 2012.
Staying in the area, the chief priest of Tindana Obari in the Talensi constituency of the Upper East region has risen to the defense of the opposition New Patriotic Party, saying the team of MPP leaders that called on him last week simply respected the tradition of the Talensi people by paying a courtesy call on him. Joy News Upper East correspondent Albert Sore was at the Tindana's palace with a bare chest and our report.
The Tindana is the land custodian and by tradition, the gatekeeper of the Talensi traditional area. This makes him one of the key traditional heads. A team from the New Patriotic Party, led by Ashanti Regional Chairman of the NPP, Bernard Entry-Boesiako, popularly called Chairman Wuntumi, paid a courtesy call on the Tindana and, as tradition demanded, removed their shirts. Images of the bare-chested campaigners went viral on social media, with many commentators claiming the men had visited the shrine to obtain spiritual powers to clinch the by-election. Subsequently, some newspapers carried the photographs on their front pages, accusing the NPP of occultism. But responding to the development, the Tindana expressed regret that the visit had been misconstrued. He spoke through an interpreter.
All the political parties that they are running for this their by-election, any of them who comes here would have been welcome, but none of them came, except the MPP people who has been here to visit him. They know that there's a landlord who they call Tindana at this town or in Bari here, and they have come to greet him. And he's the sole owner who can control any visitor who comes to this Bari land. Because others know the chief and other people to go and greet, but they have taken it upon themselves to come and even recognize him and greet him. And he's even sorry that this is how the information has been carried out at the negative impact. And none of them has come here to perform any rituals. They should not mention that they have come here to perform rituals or other things. No, they came here in the daylight time to greet him, and that is what they did.
According to the Tindana, not wearing shirts and having visitors remove their shirts is a tradition he is not ashamed to uphold.
This is the tradition that we have all grew to come and meet. And that is what we have all been practicing since we are all in the community here. All the Talisi constituency here is aware of Bari Tindana House, where if you are coming, you can, and the Tindana is alive, you cannot wear your shirt to the house. And that is to say, before the Tindana is in skin, that very day, the whole communities, everywhere, the traditional people will be here. And that is the day they will strip the person who is in skin as Tindana in this house, naked, and sent for until you die. You will be buried with the skins. Nobody would ever be in this house and wear a dress when the Tindana is alive. What about women, they put a skirt or a towel on their breast to cover their exposure to the people when they are in this house. And that is what the practice we have been practicing since we have grown in the community here, and that is how it is.
Meanwhile, the Talensi constituency youth wing of the NPP, who were also at the Tindana's palace, accused the NDC of disrespecting the tradition of the Talensi people by playing
occultism is a criminal offense for which students have to be suspended or sacked, and this is no mean an accusation for the national organization, for the national organizer of the NDC, Mr. Kofi Adams, to make against his political opponents, given the fact that he refused to respect our culture. Again, the NDC has managed through their surrogate in the media to paint us, the people of Bari and the Tongo traditional area in general, that to respect your tradition and culture, irrespective of where you come from, makes you look like a depiction of you in a movie where human heads and hearts are cooked and ate for success. This is how NDC understands our history and tradition. It will be interesting to know, even if the president, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, comes here, he will have to do the same.
While journalists who covered the press conference also had to bow to tradition. Joining us Upper East Regional Correspondent Albert Sorry, perhaps in the most unconventional pre-interview preps, had to take off his shirt before meeting the Tindana.
Away from there, the Food and Drugs Authority has vowed to wage a relentless war against persons who smuggle fake drugs into the country. This move follows the confiscation of cartons of fake Vermox deworm tablets in more than 20 commercial shops across the country. In an interview with journalist Ridwan Karimdini Osman, head of the Drug Enforcement Unit at the FDA, blamed the influx of substandard drugs on the porous nature of Ghana's borders.
The Food and Drugs Authority says its post-market surveillance team impounded more than 21 boxes of the fake drugs in over 20 chemical shops across the country. The FDA says the fake Vermos dewormer tablets lack the active ingredient required for deworming.
If you have a worm infestation, because the medicine is for treatment of worm infestation, it means your condition will not be treated. It will not resolve. And so you might have the worm overload, which sometimes can lead to nausea, some kind of ill health, can also lead to anemia, constipation, or diarrhea. All those issues are there. Those are the risks that you face. Especially children may have a lot of problems with those ones.
Thomas Amezru blamed the influx of substandard drugs on the porous nature of Ghana's borders and also advised pharmacies, licensed chemical shops and the general public to vet every drug they buy on the market.
Our borders are porous, and so anything can come in, and we don't have control over the borders. We have some few border posts, but it is not possible to police all the borders. It is not possible. So the smugglers also know their way around, so they're able to smuggle them in. That much happens in every country. It's not easy to police your borders. But as far as regulatory structures are concerned, we have adequate structures in place to deal with it. That is why, in the first place, by regulation, we demand that medicines come through only 2 ports of entry, the Tema and the Kotoka International Airports, so that there can be adequate oversight. When they are coming in, they will be examined, the permits covering them, the documentation covering them, and all. If we had any suspicions, we can still sample and then do the necessary quality evaluations.
It is estimated that over 60% counterfeit goods is imported annually into Ghana. The absence of technology to check this has hampered efforts to curb smuggling of fake drugs in the country. In an effort to bridge the technology gap, the Food and Drugs Authority has acquired a battery-operated device that shoots different wavelengths of light at a product to determine its authenticity.
So we have the fake Vermox here. Can we find out its authenticity?
Sure.
Okay, so let's see how that works.
So it's now doing the data acquisition.
Now it is analyzing the data.
Yes.
I see.
So it tells you it failed. So since it failed, we want to know what it contains.
Okay.
So it really contains the required ingredient.
Yeah.
So what does it
So we are now going to look at the details.
Yes.
All right.
Now the details is the system is telling you that it contains 84% cornstarch.
Wow.
And 2% 3-ethyl amino toluene.
Which is also a solvent, and that is carcinogenic.
What is that? I understand the cornstarch, but the second one?
The second one is an organic chemical, and it's carcinogenic.
What does that mean?
It can cause cancer.
In furtherance to this, the FDA intends to equip its personnel at the various borders with the handheld counterfeit detection devices to ultimately reduce drug counterfeiting in the country. Ridwan Karim Dini Osman, Joy News, Accra.
Well, a public health expert is asking the Food and Drugs Authority to do more to check the influx of fake and substandard drugs onto the market. Dr. Dennis Borte says the intake of such drugs has dire consequences on the health of the public and therefore the need for increased surveillance. He was speaking on the seizure of 42 boxes of fake dewormers by the FDA.
Substandard fake medicine, whichever we want to call it, has dire consequences on the individual as well as on the population as a whole, and even on the health workers themselves. If you are taking a substandard medication, which things have just been put together anyhow, and the active ingredient is too much, then the effect or the side effect that you are going to suffer, or people are supposed to suffer, would be again too much for the body to tolerate, compounding the problem. Now, this is going to mean that the health problem of the first person is not solved in the first place, and if it's running through the population, they are going to have more people being sick, and therefore a greater burden on the health care system. So these and other things, if you extrapolate it, you see how vast it can go in terms of the effect that substandard medications can have on us.
Dr. Botti also describes deworming after every 3 months as a myth, explaining it is not really necessary for adults. You're watching Joy News Prime here on Joy News on Multi TV. We're taking a break. We'll be back with more stories. Don't go away. The country's state attorneys have declared an indefinite strike over poor conditions of service. Over 150 lawyers at the Attorney General's office say they are tired of the disappointment and contempt shown to them by the Finance Ministry, having started negotiations for over a year. This follows a failed meeting with the Chief of Staff, Julius Debra, at the Presidency, and a subsequent one with the Deputy Finance Minister after forcing today. A member of the aggrieved lawyers, Charles Ufori, told Joy News there was no consensus reached with the two men and they had no choice but to lay down their tools.
Tired with the government disappointing us since some of us started work with the Attorney General over 3 years ago. And actually we started this negotiation beginning of last year, January 2014, last year. And today we met Honorable Mr. Julius Debra at the Presidency. And he even led us to Minister of Finance, still to see to it that we are able to resolve this matter amicably. There was no consensus. So
when you say everything came to nothing, what do you mean? That there's no opportunity for a pay rise or the other things that you're demanding?
Let me quote the Deputy Minister for Finance words in extenso. His words are that they are now setting up a committee, a matter that we have been negotiating for 1 year.
So, Mr. Ofori, if you're saying that the Deputy Finance Minister indicated that they're to set up a committee, they manage the public purse, why not give them some more time to address that then?
The matter is simple. You have petitioned against a body that seeks to resolve labor issue between two parties. The body that is established by law to negotiate or resolve the matter has invited the relevant parties, and that party who, without that party, the dispute cannot be resolved, never attended. What do? Do you go to heaven?
The Ghana National Fire Service has issued deadlines for a number of fuel stations in Accra to upgrade their safety measures or be shut down. The warning was issued after an inspection of the stations revealed that their fire safety measures were not adequate. The inspection comes just about a month after the June 3 explosion at the Goil filling station, which killed about 100 people, and Odame has filed this report.
In all, we visited 4 filling stations and 1 beach resort. Our first stop was the Total filling station at Teshi, where an argument ensued between the supervisor Fred Enchi and Group Fire Officer Genevieve Derby over the absence of sand in the sand bucket, one of the most basic safety measures.
Sand are supposed to, we use them for spillage. And I'm saying that assuming there were this spillage all over, at the time you were offloading your floor, what do you think would have happened?
I know, madam, I'll challenge you.
Is this enough?
It's not enough.
Yes, I'm saying that even
right
the
now,
one that you have is even water.
Thank you.
Exactly.
Aside not having the required sand, the cover used for the fuel tank was a polythene wrapped around the top, which was described as inappropriate. Their generating plant also had oil spilled all over, which the fire personnel said could be easily ignited. Deputy Chief Fire Officer Michael Yakwa gave the station a week to fix the lapses identified or risk closure. The Eve Oil at Nungwa had no fire certificate and were asked to halt operations until it is produced. This directive, however, didn't go down well with the supervisor at the facility.
Requesting that, as we are speaking, the services here should be halted until we come into face-to-face with a certificate.
No, we will stop the service and just get a certificate.
Very
Maybe
well.
We can even trace you if we have it as your records. It's possible that your records too, we shall be there, but it will not be in your files.
I'm
not challenging this. You see, we are in Ghana.
Fraga Oil at La was described as a mess by the inspectors. The compound had been taken over by commercial vehicles. Public Relations Officer Billy Anaglate wondered why this filling station had its petrol tank close to their generator and its diesel tank had spillages all over. They were given 2 weeks ultimatum to fix the congestion or also risk closure. The next door beach resort on the beach road was said to be operating in a dangerous environment. Their fire extinguishers had expired and their fire certificate had not been renewed since 2006. Our camera also captured wiring the inspector said was dangerous. The resort has been given 2 weeks to get them fixed or shut down. The EPA, the Environment Ministry, Petroleum Ministry and MPA have all embarked on tours at filling stations after the June 3 disaster. This one by the fire service is expected to complement their efforts and bring some sanity to the operations of filling stations. For Joy News, my name is Hannah Odame.
Kintampo in the Brungahafu region has been named as the second town to host the Ebola clinical trials after Hohoe in the Volta region. This was disclosed at a sensitization forum in Ho, organized by the University of Health and Allied Sciences and the Food and Drugs Authority. Parliament, in calling for the suspension of the trials last month, had suggested that not enough public education had been done. Principal investigator Professor Fred Binka stressed on the importance of the trials, explaining it will strengthen Ghana's capacity to engineer its own drugs.
News of the trials generated controversy among residents of the host town Hohoe in the Volta region amid fears that volunteers may be infected with the disease which has not yet been recorded in the country. Parliament thought more education and engagement among stakeholders and residents was needed to allay the fears of people. Consequently, Principal Investigator Professor Fred Binka is assuring Ghanaians that the trials will not harm citizens, but rather shield them in case of another outbreak. He adds the Uncle Sakasis Research Center in Hohoe, since its establishment in 1986, has supervised over 30 clinical trials.
The WHO developed a phase 1 trial facility in Hohoe in 1986, where they started testing all the drugs that today we use in onchocerciasis treatment. So people know that there's an onchocerciasis center in Hohoe, but they actually never knew what that center was doing. So the Hohoe site over these past 3 decades has conducted over 30 clinical trials, phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3 trials, both for onchocerciasis drugs, some malaria drugs, and have worked with several international partners and local partners, including the Gucci Memorial Institute for Medical Research. So that's why Hohoe was chosen. The University of Health and Allied Sciences had taken over the onchocerciasis unit and had revamped it and was poised to continue the good work that Hohoe has started over the years.
He explains selection of volunteers will be carried out diligently.
They must meet an eligibility criteria, and in this case we're looking for people aged between 18 years to 50 years old. They will have, as they go through the process, will have an informed consent, including a test, understand whether they understand the things that they are told. They'll go through a medical history, they'll do a physical examination, and they'll do a battery of tests to make sure that each of their body functions are perfect. If they're not, if they fail of these things, even the volunteer, they cannot be part of the trial. Because we want to make sure at the end of the day that people who are injected with the vaccine are healthy people, so that when we test them frequently and we see any changes, we can ascribe it to the vaccine that was injected rather than the fact that they already had hypertensive, they had diabetes, they were obese, and so on.
72 volunteers between the ages of 18 and 50 are needed to participate in the vaccine trial. Though the selection process has not begun, some students of the University of Health and Allied Sciences have expressed their willingness to volunteer.
I think I can go and I'll personally volunteer if I qualify to take part in the trial. I believe
that science is evidence-based. To make things work for all of us, we need to come together as a country and support the people.
But before they are selected, they would have to undergo a test of understanding to ascertain their knowledge of the vaccine trial. Meanwhile, Dr. Amma Edwin of the Ethics Review Committee of the Ghana Health Service has stressed the rights of volunteers will be safeguarded. Fred Kwame Asare's report for Joy News.
We're taking a break now, but up next we'll bring you business news.
Business News is brought.
My name is Eton Amse. Welcome to the business segment. I'm sure you know that the cedi has sustained gains over the last week, and we're looking at ways to keep it on that level. And the chief executive of Stanbic Bank says calls by the central bank for commercial banks to discourage trade in foreign currencies as a measure to help the cedi appreciate is out of place. The central bank is putting measures in place to help the cedi gain value. Al-Hassan Andani, however, explained commercial banks are only a pass-through agent and therefore cannot do much to help the cedi.
The story about this foreign exchange actually is a two-way story. It's a supply and a demand story. When we talk exchange rates, people only concentrate on the demand side of it. Can you imagine that if suddenly there was capacity in this country for some, economic agents to export goods and services, how much wealth they would generate in dollars? You get what I'm saying? So whilst everybody will be complaining about the impact of the exchange rate on the supply side, we as banks, and we sit down here, who is out there with the potential, that we can help to roll in a lot more dollars so he can be rich in cedis. But back to the question as what can banks do? We banks are basically pass-through agents that, you deposit dollars, you come back for your dollars. You deposit cedis, you come back for your cedis. You borrow dollars, you pay back in dollars. Or if you borrow dollars and you have a currency mismatch, we've agreed with you how we are managing that mismatch. So it's a larger and broader economic conversation we should have in Ghana, and to say how much of our total expenses or requirements in this country can we localize.
Now, away from the cedi, the country's biggest telecoms operator, MTN, has added its voice to concerns over the high rate of battery theft in the sector. The company says it has so far lost a little over 16 million cedis from the phenomenon. It comes after Tigo and has also announced it's lost some 4 million cedis to battery theft. The spate of battery theft is said to have been triggered by increased demand for the batteries as an alternate source of power due to the energy crisis. Corporate Services Executive of MTN Ghana, Cynthia Lumo, explained to Joy Business how it is affecting their operations.
Just to give you some background, again, the power situation is another area where we have to put in redundancies because, as I said, the cell sites cannot operate without power. So when the electricity goes off, we have batteries that take up, the supply of power, and then we have a double redundancy in terms of generators. The theft of the batteries is what you are talking about, so that when the power goes down, where the battery should take over automatically before the generators take over, a lot of the time we found that the batteries had been stolen, and so that automatic backup wasn't happening. Last year, MTN lost about a little over $4 million US dollars in battery thefts, and these batteries are state of the art. They are not your regular batteries. These are batteries that. And I think that because of the power situation in Ghana, these days a lot of people are setting up their redundancy at home so that, they can also rely on batteries.
2014.
Now, sponsors and exhibitors at this year's Joy FM Beauty and Bridal Fair are excited at the sales and marketing opportunities offered by the event. This year's edition of the event, which serves as a one-stop shop for all wedding and related event needs, ended Sunday at the Accra International Conference Center. Patrons of the fair were also impressed with the discounts offered by the exhibitors over the 4-day period. In summary, Joy Business's Kuku Aban reports, just like fairy tale endings, everyone lived happily ever after.
Kuku.
How has business been this past 4 days?
It's been wonderful. It's been wonderful. Yesterday it was hectic. My people are just telling me that yesterday there was nowhere to, to even operate because people were lining up just to sign up, and we are very grateful. We have enjoyed the show. We have enjoyed every bit of it.
Okay. So next year we are going to see you.
Definitely. We have been with you for the past 6 or so years. But this time we have come in big, we have come in big. We have enjoyed the benefits, we have seen the benefits, and we will continue to sponsor the bridal fair.
I would say it's been a tremendous and amazing experience at the Joy Bridal Fair for the past 4 days. We've been overwhelmed with clients. We least expected this number of traffic to visit our stands. We've done a lot of business, and we assure you that next year definitely you'll find us here.
Well, it's been great. It started slow, but then from Friday afternoon it started picking up. Yesterday I think was the busiest day, and this morning was quite slow, but we are hoping to see a lot of people tonight. Yeah.
And you are into contraceptives. If you say it's been a good business, 4 days or the past 3 days, how do you do the assessment?
In the sense that people are coming in to get more information or to be educated on the use of contraceptives, what family planning is, just about that. So we think that the people are embracing the concept of planning their families.
This is our 3rd time. The first time we came was in 2013. 2014 we were here, 2015 we're here again. So far it's been good, especially for weddings. People like to think of the transportation aspect in the last minute when almost everything is done and they're tied on budget. But we're here and you have a lot of planners. These people are planning way ahead of time. So we come here to exhibit what we have so that they can put it in their plans from inception, not at the last minute. So usually when we come here, it's very good for us, we must say. It's been good for Eurostar, and I'm sure it's been good for everyone as well.
It's been 4 days of amazing offers, great discounts, and sponsors have simply been saying that they've been overwhelmed. They've been able to make a lot of contacts, they've sold so much, and next year the assurance is that they are going to sponsor again. So from the Accra International Conference Center for the Joy Beauty and Bridal Fair, I am Kuku Aban for Joy Business.
My colleague Kuku Aban there. So that's how we wrap up with business. My name is Eton. I'm saying many thanks for your time. Israelite has more. Please stay.
Now, both passengers and operators in the aviation sector have cautioned the recent introduction of a 17.5% tax on domestic airfares will prove counterproductive to efforts to grow the sector. The tax introduced by the Ghana Revenue Authority effective July 1 has increased the fares by that percentage. Though the operators have argued against it, they say they have no option but to levy passengers until the GRA advises otherwise. Derek Echo Sam has more.
The implementation of the tax followed the presidential assent granted the Parliamentary Act on December 30, 2013. The domestic flyers, who for years have seen air travel as the easiest and most comfortable way to transact business and attend to personal issues, are not amused. But despite the fare increase, they insist air transport will still be their first option.
Yeah, at the end of the day, as far as that is taking money out of my pocket, you don't expect me to be happy. So definitely I'm not happy. But what my understanding is that has to do with VAT. I mean, when they keep on increasing, it definitely is going to affect people that are going to use the route.
Apparently it's not, because when I inquired from the service provider, I was told there's an increase in VAT that has made the fares go up. So I don't know if the government can do something about it for us.
They'll be taxing you on a ticket. It's very wrong for government to do. It's a very wrong. Seriously, I'm not happy by the way about the words I'm using, because I can't even talk because I'm very angry.
They, however, believe a scrapping of the tax will be appreciated.
To help more people to travel, because maybe I can afford, but there may be others who will also want to travel on the same way, but because of the increase, they will have to look for an alternative.
They should even bring the price down even to the level that, internationally, how people will accept it. They should look at the what's the name of the international patrol?
We need to looking at the affordability. How many people, looking at the current economic challenges that we're facing in the country, if we keep on increasing, how many people are going to fly? You know, gradually it's deterring people from flying.
Their cry for a decrease has received the backing of James Eric Entry, the Chief Executive Officer of Domestic Operator Starbo.
Either of them is good. Either total suspension will be great. Why not? But the reduction too will also be appreciated. Yes. Well, initially it's maybe about 5-10%. Between 5-10% is okay, but 6-7.5% is a hoping. You know, is big. It's big. Looking at it, and then for the passenger too, it's such a big increase. And I don't know, the choice of flying, would be something like you have to be able to afford it from the very top. You know, now the people down there who were also experiencing, enjoying the flights, some of them may not be able to afford again.
Mr. Entry explains why the tax introduction comes at a bad time. He tells Joy News not even their latest offer of buy 4 tickets, get 1 free can save his company from losing customers, as has been the case in the last 2 years.
Well, we have things for our, passengers, the frequent flyer passengers. We have introduced what they call the buy 4, get 1 ticket. Although we all do it, but hey, they are the frequent flyers. Those people, they always fly anyway because that's their business.
Up next, we bring you the sports news. Stay tuned.
And we start with the Black Stars, and Deputy Sports Minister Honorable Vincent Opong Asamoah has attributed the delay in payment of bonuses of the players of various national teams to the Ghana Football Association. The Black Stars have not received the allowances weeks after participating in the 2017 Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers. The FA officials blamed government for the delay in payment, but the Sports Minister tells Joy Sports that the late submission of the budget by the Ghana FA is chief reason for the delay.
It's only the sports that funds are delayed. Go to health. We have some nurses that have worked for some months. We have not paid them. You go to Ministry of Education, teachers, some of them we still owe them. So how is it that when it comes to sports, we want them to sports? We need to pay them outright. You know, at a point we need to rethink about some of these things. It is not only cash. That should be the major motivational factor when it comes to you doing something for your country. We know that once it comes to state owning, we definitely will pay. But when we'll be able to mobilize the resources to pay is another thing. You know, we have our role to play. When GFA submit budget to the ministry, we work on it, send it to the Plaza House, Chief of Staff directly approves. When it comes to foreign currency, it comes to us, we send it to Ministry of Finance. It takes some time for them to release money. But if actually in the last issue that we are talking about, if you are in the office, I would have given you when they submitted the budget. The budget even came after they've even played the match. So how do we get the money? The money, we don't have money sitting in our account at the ministry. Everything we have to go to the Minister of Finance for them to release sources before we can pay. So you sympathize with them. At times we have to even leave our office to be chasing money because we need money for the Black Stars.
Well, no such worries for the Black Satellites because each member of that team pocketed $6,000 for reaching the last 16 of the 5th under 20 World Cup finals in New Zealand. The amount represented qualification bonuses from the group to the 1/16 stage of the tournament. So that's looking very good for the Black Satellites in there. Let's talk some more, and we're getting to the transfer market, and we're talking about Shanghai SIP. They've done a fantastic job, and they're saying that they're getting close to signing on Black Stars captain Asamoah Gyan. That's close to 20 million euro, and that's quite interesting because Gyan only signed a fresh deal at Al-Ain last year that will keep him at the UAE Giants until 2018. That could be on the move.
Asamoah Gyan is likely to replace either Tobias Hansen or Jean Everard Kwasi once he completes his move to Chinese club Shanghai SIPG. The 29-year-old is expected to arrive in China on Wednesday to undergo a medical before signing a contract to join the big spending Super League side. Gyan's move to Shanghai was put in motion following a big money offer, which has now been accepted by Al-Ain. The club, coached by Seven Goran Eriksson, will be paying a figure around 20 million euro for the Black Stars captain, who will receive in excess of a whopping $300,000 in weekly wages. Jan's arrival will, however, spell the end of the road for either Tobias Hansen or Jean Kouassi, since Shanghai SIPG need to make room for their foreign quota signings. Chinese clubs are allowed to sign up to only 5 non-nationals in their squads, which the club has currently exhausted. Space, therefore, would need to be made to accommodate the big-name Ghanaian signing.
It's about Ghanaian players, and Italian giants Roma have agreed terms for Black Stars left-back Abdurrahman and are close to a deal with the German side Oxford. Now, according to Sky Sport Italia, Roma director Sports Walter Sabatini reached an agreement with Baba. It's believed the player would receive a 5-year contract worth 2.2 million euros per season. This is an improvement over the 1.8 million euros per season wages offered by Chelsea. Roma still need to finalize the deal with the parent club Oxford, and they are only prepared to reach that 18 million euro, including bonuses out there. We'll finish up with Accra Hearts of Oak Managing Director Gerard Ankra says that the club is in crisis following their current poor form in the First Capital Plus Premier League. Hearts are struggling in the league as they lie 12 with 26 points on the league table, and the players, according to Joyce Sports sources, have not been paid for the last 3 months. The club's general manager Gerard Ankra, however, insists the way forward is to accept their current predicament and know that's real.
Well, we have our internal issues. We tried. Management and the board has actually commenced addressing these issues about 2 weeks ago. And it was our aim that this past match with the Azakes should be the threshold. Unfortunately, we went in and again we met issues. It means it's not only our internal issues that we have to comprehend with, we have to look beyond even the playing body and the technical team. So there are issues that we are, and this morning again, we have a crisis meeting, and I'm sure we will come out stronger after this meeting.
Crisis meeting?
Yeah.
Is it management or board?
No, it's a crisis meeting. I wouldn't want to go into the details, but it's a crisis meeting.
Players have not been paid for the last 3 months. Accra Hearts are not getting the results. The coach's head is on the line. That's Israel's club for you. We'll see how they sort that out. That'll be all for sports tonight. I'm George Adejini. Have a good night.
The sports segment was